Okay, so there's a new film that is making some serious and pretty unexpected waves at the box office, and it's sparking all kinds of conversations about storytelling, politics, and really who gets to shape history. So let's just jump right into the thing that has everyone talking. This film, all about the former First Lady, has become a massive and frankly startling commercial success right out of the gate. And the news media picked up on this super fast. This quote from Sky News gives you a sense of it. They didn't just call it a successful film, they framed it as a major cultural moment. I mean, think about it. The #1 documentary in terms of ticket sales in a decade. That's huge. All this initial success and the way the media was talking about it kind of makes you step back and ask a really basic question. Wait a minute, what is this movie, really? And this is where things get really interesting. Because when you hear from the film's creator, Melania Trump, it turns out she has a very, very different label for what she's made. Right there at the film's premiere, she made it a point to correct the record herself. In her own words, she stood up and just directly challenged how everyone was seeing it, stating flat out that this project is not a documentary. So, okay, if it's not a documentary, then what is it? Well, she calls it purposeful storytelling. And that phrase is key. This isn't about giving you a neutral, just the facts report. It's being described as a deliberate act of authorship, something specifically created to guide you through certain emotions and images. This really breaks down her intention. The goal is to offer you a very specific set of perspectives and moments. The idea is that the truth of the story is revealed through what she calls genuine discovery, not by some narrator telling you what to think. It's a legacy piece, a story that's built to last for generations. All right, so that's the creative vision. But did it actually work? Did people show up? Let's get into the numbers because, wow, they're pretty remarkable. According to industry projections that Sky News reported on, the film just shot straight to the #1 spot for a documentary. It beat out everything else in its category right away. And we're not talking about just a minor hit here. This is a record-breaking success. The highest ticket sales for any film in this genre in about 10 years, a whole decade. That is a huge accomplishment no matter what the subject is. But, and this is a really big but, the story of its success gets way more complex when you start to look at where those tickets were being sold. Yeah, the box office data basically paints a picture that looks a whole lot like the country's political map. Reports said ticket sales were a whole feck of a lot stronger in Republican areas, and, you guessed it, much weaker in the big cities and blue states. And this divide seems to be baked into the film's whole reason for being. This comment from Donald Trump suggests the film is meant to tell a story that he believes the mainstream media, or what he calls fake news, ignores. So it's aimed squarely at an audience that already feels that way. Even the launch strategy for this film was national in scope. The premiere wasn't just in D.C. They broadcast it live to theaters all across the country, Miami, Dallas, but also San Francisco and Chicago. They were trying to create this one big, unified, nationwide event. So what's the big takeaway here? What does all of this really reveal? Well, it's about this much larger battle over storytelling and history that's happening right now. And Melania herself frames the whole mission in these exact terms. She says that the most significant stories are the ones that are untold, basically positioning her film as a necessary correction to the public record. So what is this big, untold story? Well, according to her husband, a huge part of it is her quiet but significant influence on policy and national events. He calls her very influential, says, "I count on her," and even describes her as a historian in the true sense. So when you put it all together, the careful framing as purposeful storytelling, the targeted release, the messaging, and the incredible reception within a very specific audience, it's clear this project was designed to be so much more than just a movie. Ultimately, what this represents is a deliberate and, you have to say, a highly successful effort to shape a public narrative by completely bypassing the traditional gatekeepers. It's an attempt to write a chapter in the history books on her own terms. And that leaves us with one last big thought. In an age of curated narratives and divided audiences, the success of a film like this forces us to ask a really fundamental question about how we remember things. Who exactly gets to write history?